A new year, fresh, ripe, and potent, is upon us. New times, new ideas, new ways of thinking. This should have been a very different video than what it will be. But for reasons not yet revealed, we are left with these two pieces before us. The one on the left is called gob. It is a byproduct waste from coal mining. The one on the right is actually a chunk of old Pennsylvania Highway 61, the abandoned portion that once ran travelers into the town of Centralia, Pennsylvania. Perhaps you have heard of the Lost Graffiti Highway, or maybe you caught it on my channel from, at this point, more than 5 years ago. From the trip that got Why Did the Nations Rage started. So, the next question is, what do these two, or for lack of a better word, rocks, have to do with this video? Well, a lot, actually. You see, if you're not familiar with the origin of this YouTube channel, chances are you're probably not. It actually all started from one thought, one single idea, and that was to take a trip, a one-time only trip, across the country to visit family that I myself, my wife, and my kids rarely see. To go to a place that I had never been to before, to spend time with family that at the time I had not ever met or had a chance to become acquainted with. Of course, I'm speaking of my wife's mother, Kelly, and stepfather, Randy. They had a lot to say about Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, the town in which they resided at that time. So many interesting stories about different locations, and I, like so many others at that point, had already become extremely fascinated with the town of Centralia, the ghost town, abandoned and leveled after the horrible underground mine fire that had wreaked havoc on the population and land. It makes for great content to add to YouTube, and there are thousands of YouTube videos on Centralia, and my videos are included in them. And well, to make a long story less long, we made the trip, we saw the family, we got the videos, and they exist in the great vault of content on Why Did the Nations Rage. Kelly and Randy no longer reside in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. They now call Joplin, Missouri their home. And once again, in a new place, with new old stories and vast locations and endless potential content, a completely different part of the country, we have been called upon once again to make a trip across the country to see the family that we rarely see, and to discover a place we've never been. Or should I say places that I never even dreamed to discover. You see, let me tell you a little something about Joplin, Missouri. It is very unique in that it lies on the southwest corner of the state, only half an hour or so from Kansas and Oklahoma, and only about an hour and a half or so from Arkansas. A trip to a place like this would make for an outstanding opportunity to add content to this channel. And with such locations as Pitcher, Oklahoma, another mining ghost town with a tragic story to tell, and the world-famous Crescent Hotel, nestled deep in the Ozark Mountains in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, known as the Magic City and Stairstep Town, with the hotel itself being featured on such shows as Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters. And I'm just getting started. Most people only know Joplin, Missouri for one thing, the 2011 EF5 tornado that tore the town to shreds. But there is so much more to this place. And for the past 6 months, my wife, Christina, and I have been planning for this trip, racking up all of our PTO at work to take it. 10 days. That's what we managed to come up with. I let my 5th anniversary on YouTube slip by last September. I've waited all this time without saying or telling anyone what our plans have been. I wanted it to come as a surprise, or even a sort of reward, a thank you for watching my ridiculous YouTube channel. I was going to reveal our trip 2 weeks prior to our departure, but as before I told you, this was supposed to be a very different vlog than what it will be. You see, a couple of weeks ago, I came down with streptococcal pharyngitis, better known as strep throat. At that point, I wouldn't have thought this, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. I saw the doctor, took the meds, and got better, but not without missing a couple of days of work, for which I had to use some of my PTO or paid time off to cover. At that point, it was not an issue of concern. It didn't affect our plans. Another week went by. I was fine. And then we get to last week. About a week or 7 days ago, on a Sunday, Christina and I noticed that our son Jonah was not feeling well. We took his temperature and it was very high. He then proceeded to get much worse. The next day, I started for work and felt fine, other than the usual Monday morning routine. However, about halfway through the day, I noticed a rash that was showing up on my forearms. As I have had scalp psoriasis for the past 10 years or so, I didn't think much about it and kept on about my work. Then the end of the day rolled around and I started heading for home. As I was driving, I felt it hit me like a wrecking ball. I didn't even make it home before my temperature shot up. I started coughing so much that it felt like my lungs were rattling up like an accordion. It was when I got home and Christina saw how sick I was that she made the statement that it was not going to happen and we couldn't afford to miss any more work and still make the trip. I, being the stubborn yet passionate fool that I am, put my foot down and said I am going to work tomorrow, and I honestly planned to do just that. It wasn't until the next day, when we took Jonah to the doctor, that we realized what was wrong. Apparently, we had all been exposed to influenza type A, better known as the flu. If you're listening to this and you've had the flu, then I know you'll understand what I mean. This putrid, evil thing has made its way inside of you and it's literally trying to take over. When your body is infected with influenza, it's almost like you're in another state, on a different plane. However you want to say it, you're there, but you're not really there. You still have control, but you're completely powerless. Time still passes, but in a different kind of way. You have extremely unique and vivid dreams, sometimes about finding ways to breathe better. I don't know if anyone can relate to that or not, or maybe I was just slowly suffocating in my sleep. As bad as it actually got, I still consider myself fortunate because no more or less than 2 weeks had gone by on that Monday that I got sick since I finally gave in and got the flu shot when I had been treated for strep throat. And from what I've heard, it takes at least 2 weeks of being in your system for a flu shot to even work. And I know what you're thinking. Isn't the flu shot supposed to prevent you from getting the flu? Well, apparently not, because I still got the flu. However, what it should do is help your body overcome the virus faster. People without the vaccine have the flu for an average of 2 weeks. People with the vaccine average the virus for 5 to 7 days. In the long run, we all got it, even the baby. That's right, Everly has been fighting off this monster as well. This is actually the first time I can recall ever getting the flu. But I can tell this much, it is so bad that it will make you forget about everything around you. You'll be peeling your face off of the floor or the pillow if you can actually make it to your bed. This is not an advocacy for you to get the flu shot. I'm not for it or against it. But I am glad to say that after 1 week, I'm finally starting to feel better. That is good enough to make this video for you. Apparently the rash that I got is related to the flu virus and extremely rare. So much so that it isn't even recorded. It only shows up in a tiny amount of cases. Yesterday my doctor was telling me to go to the hospital. But today, I'm feeling closer to normal. And that's it. I hate to leave it like that, but the truth is, we honestly do not know. As this parentheses, add curse word here, close parentheses, virus has depleted all of my PTO at work, I know that this trip I spoke of will not be anytime soon. So, how long? 6 more months? A year? Hopefully not that long, but I honestly cannot say at this time. All I can do is be thankful that my family and I are nearly through this long, miserable week from hell. And try to think about it like this, that everything happens for a reason. We obviously weren't meant to take this trip this February, and there is also content for me to capture close by that speaks for itself. But unlike these amazing destinations that I have spoken briefly of, the voice is much more subtle, and therefore it will be much more challenging to capture it. But I will do my best. Until then, I will just be gandering at these 2 rocks and hope that the day we embark on that journey will arrive. Thanks for watching, and beware of the flu. Don't let it get you.